I welcome you all to today's episode of The Balanced Breed. Today we'll be looking at a very interesting topic, money matters. We all like money. I bet you all watching me right now want to know what exactly we'll be talking about today. Now, to take us further into this topic, I want us to Bible from the book of 1 Timothy chapter 5, verse 8. Now, this is an interesting piece, and that is where we'll be basing our talk from. From my New King James Version, I'll read. It says, "But if anyone does not provide for his own, and especially those of his household, he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever." An amplified version of it says, "If anyone fails to provide for his own, and especially for those of his own family, he has denied the faith by disregarding its precepts and is worse than an unbeliever who fulfills his obligations in these matters." Let me look at good news. Good news says, "But if anyone does not take care of his relatives, especially the members of his own family, he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever." Now, to do justice to this scripture with me tonight is Dr. Charles Mwemena. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you for having me.
And Sister Blessing Ojo on my left-hand side. You're welcome. I'll be starting with the only gentleman in the midst of the ladies. Our doctor in the house. Please, sir, you have gone through this scripture. I know not once, not twice. You've seen this scripture several times. Now, it strikes me. What does the Bible mean by this verse? If anyone does not provide for his family, he is worse than unbeliever. What is the Bible trying to tell us?
Thank you. I'll summarize my take from this scripture in very few words. First is that as followers of Jesus Christ, as disciples of Jesus, the scripture demands that we live an other-centered life, and that we have a duty of care towards others, beginning with our nuclear family, members of our nuclear family, going beyond that to the extended family, using the incomes that are at our disposal. Number two take is you find the male pronoun used there, his and he. Now, that does not restrict this charge or this application alone to the male factor, as the man. No.
You actually took me further away. I was coming to that, actually. I was going to ask you if the Bible was referring to only the men. But since you're already there, I'll let you do that. Okay.
Okay, I was saying that the use of the male pronoun, he, his, does not restrict application to the male factor. That usage is in generic terms, not in gender, because that scripture began by saying, if anyone, and so it makes reference to anyone that has a relative that is located in a nuclear family, that has the resources and therefore the responsibility to provide care, neglects to do that, has not only denied the faith, but has even gone beyond that to become worse than an unbeliever who provides and who lives an other-centered life. I'll stop there for now.
All right, sir. It's quite dicey. Reason because sometimes we'll find people who work so hard to care for their family, and then all of a sudden, certain things happen, and then they are not able to carry on this task. So should we go ahead to say they have denied the faith?
I think the scripture must be looked at very carefully. There are other translations that throw light and answer this question directly. It says, if anyone neglects to, I think it's a New Living Translation. If anyone neglects to, if there's a neglect or fails to, when you're in a position to. So I think it's a matter of negligence here. If it's not New Living, I think one of the scriptures talks about neglect.
No, what I'm saying is, he was doing that.
Yeah.
And then suddenly he's not able to, maybe due to job loss or certain things that goes beyond his control or her control, and this person is not able to meet up with caring for the family. Do we still say this person has denied the faith?
That's what I was saying, that it's not a question of ability now.
Okay.
If you're not able to, you're not guilty. It talks about neglect. It talks about ability but failing to do so. So it's a case of, we call that gross negligence. So it's not that you don't have. If you don't have it, you don't have. But if you have and you neglect to, that's what the Bible is talking about here.
Oh, right. I think this clarity is very okay with me, because I was actually having that confusion upstairs. I was wondering, so if my husband is not able to meet up his needs, do I go saying he has denied the faith? But thank God, viewers, we can see the light has been thrown into this topic. I think it's clearer. So we don't feel guilty because maybe you lost your job or somehow along the line. Okay, I have another question, but this time I want to go to my sister here. Sister Blessing. Now, you are the wife here now. Should we say it is the man only? I know he has said something concerning that, but I want to hear your own view. Is it okay for your husband only to be the provider for you and the children?
Like from what doctor has said, though in our society today, before and after marriage, we women have this at the back of our mind, that it is the sole responsibility of the man to provide for his family. But with the trend of time, things have changed. For some unforeseen circumstances, economic downturn, refusing to change with the trend of the time in different endeavors, inadequate planning, all this. And for the fact that only the man cannot cater for the responsibilities of the family, because you know, as women, the way our lifestyle is quite different from that of all of the men. So for some other reasons, for the fact that we are always in need to buy this, to buy that. As a woman, you must look for a way to contribute to the family finances.
Okay, that means to say you are in agreement with what doctor is saying, that it's the word men here is not relative to the men in a sense. So the Bible is referring to both women and women. So it's not proper for a woman to sit down and say that my husband must provide for me solely. That's what you're saying. What about some cultures? I know even though the instruction has gone this way, we have some cultures that you discover that the women are not allowed to do some things. I'll come back to the doctor. Now, you will find some situation, not even in culture, we have some men who will say their wife will not provide. They want to do all themselves. Now, considering this trend of time, the economic downturn we're facing right now, just like Shepo said, would you advise that only the man be the breadwinner of the family?
Well, without being specific, I want to say that if any man decides to be the sole provider of his home, for his home, because he can do that, there's nothing wrong with that. But truth is, life happens. The man may simply be no more the next day, and then that leaves the woman stranded. And besides, if you don't put what you have to use, redundancy sets in. A woman must be allowed to work, not just for the sake of provision, but because work actually is part of health.
Okay.
Work is part of work gives you self-esteem.
Okay.
Work gives you dignity.
Okay.
Work adds to your health.
Okay.
If you stop doing something, friends, you start dying.
Wow. You stop doing something, you start dying. I don't think anyone wants to die. I actually agree with you because there's this fulfillment you find going to work. Even if the pay is not what you want it to be, but it gives you fulfillment that you wake up every month. And then you hit the road. And then when everyone is coming back, you're coming back. I'll come back to you again. Now, let's look at this scenario now. We have some cases where, okay, let me come back. I think I want Doctor to answer this question. We have some scenarios where some men, they are able. Not that they are not able. I think this focus is about the able men. They are able. But yet, the attention being given to the family, immediate family, most especially the nuclear family here, it cannot be equated to the good things these men do outside. Maybe they just want the society to see them as givers. You discover that they do more on the outside than they do on the inside. What can you say could be the reason for this kind of attitude? I don't know if you might have an idea.
I think that it's important to lay down two markers here. Two things that I think are fundamental to management of money matters in the home. If we get this right, it will take care of these other ones that are ancillary. Number one is what the Bible talks about in Matthew 25, the parable of the talent, and that is the mentality of biblical stewardship. That what I have is not mine, is God's. My wife and I'm talking about a husband and a wife, ought to come to this reality. We're talking to people who know Jesus now, that there's something called biblical stewardship, and that is everything we have is God's. He gave them to us to manage and to place at God's disposal to use for His glory. If we have this mentality, it takes care of what we disburse to families and relatives and how much we give them. The man and the woman in a home must have this mentality. This property isn't ours. This money isn't ours. It doesn't matter who brings more to the table, whether it's the husband or the wife. This is God's resource. This is God's talent. This is God's investment. He gave them to us to manage and to place at His disposal to use for His glory. Secondly, if we have that mentality, we deploy our wisdom, our talents, our energies to increase these resources, like the parable of talent. And when they increase, it is not for us to keep them as our own. We bring them back to His disposal. Okay. He determines how it is used. That's a fundamental principle that should guide how we spend money.
Okay, I will take you again. I'm coming back to the scripture again. Now, when the Bible was making clarity on this, it talked about immediate relatives. Now, I want us to draw this immediate relative. Who are these immediate relatives the Bible is talking about? Is it just the nuclear family, or does it goes to the extended family? Who are these
That scripture was careful to, first of all, say His own in the King James. Yes. And then he went further to say, and others of His household.
Yes.
So I think a distinction has been made here.
Okay.
And I believe in order of priority.
Yeah.
To make sure that you don't neglect your own nuclear family
first.
And then others of the household, distant relatives.
Okay.
And of course, comparing scripture with scripture, members of the household of faith, it goes beyond that.
Yes.
Like I said at the beginning, it is a call to live an other-centered life.
Yes, I agree with you. Okay, I will come back again. I'm not done with you.
Right.
I have another one. Now, since this clarity is being drawn, I think our viewers can agree with me that anyone who finds himself on this path, most especially to the extended family, I think this is common. You discover that most people just face their nuclear family and then they forget the extended family. They feel it's not my duty to take care of my brother's son or my sister. It's not my duty. So most attention is given to only the nuclear family. Then you find people around suffering. So I think you can maybe like talk more on that so that our viewers can.
Yes, strictly speaking, if you have an other-centered view, I hope that this can, percolate, sediment right into our beings, our spirits, that God called us to live an other-centered life. Your house, your relatives, you can't, if you have the resources, see, the least you can do, because you may not be able to meet everybody's need, the least you can do is to demonstrate care. When you can't meet all the needs, show that you care. You give symbolically. You haven't met the need because they know you can't meet every need. But demonstration of care is a call to live other-centered lives. You may not be able to meet everybody's needs, but there must be wisdom at your disposal to demonstrate to an extent that you care. Really, that's what people want to know. They want to know that you care.
Yeah.
Not that you
even
solved
if
all
the
their
money
problems.
Is not there.
Exactly.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Sister Blessing, I will come to you. Now, I have this worry. I have this concern. This has to do with the women folk. You wives generally, I'm not trying to generalize this, but it's quite common. You find a situation whereby the head of the house or the breadwinner or the man here, suddenly, just like you put it, situations turns around and he's no longer able to meet up. Now, we've seen a situation where the women come up and then they begin to misbehave. They begin to feel, I'm now the breadwinner, so they become the kings in the house. Do you think this is right?
No. Because one thing the women in this situation must remember is that that man was once the breadwinner of the family. And it is grace being given out to her to be able to fit in to the shoe of this said man. So for whatever reason, pride should not set in.
Okay, you mean the moment the woman provided, she become proud?
Yes. So she might not be able to do it the way the man used to. Because if you will ask me or allow me to put it this way, it's like a man's word. When the men do this, they don't complain. It's only when the woman become over-dependent on him, and some of the reaction of the man is just a way to help her find her bearings. You go out and do something. So, for whatever reason, she should not be proud about it. She should learn to do it respectfully, the way it has always been.
But would you say it is wrong for the woman to actually step in and begin to care fully, and while the man while he's still trying to find a fit, or should she, how do I put it now? Should she wait? Some will have to wait. I've seen women who there was a downturn in the finances from the man, and then they turn beggarly. Instead of looking for something doing, they just turn beggarly. They begin to beg from one household to the other. Do you think that is the right direction instead of finding?
That's not the right thing to do, because if you look around today, the kind of job, the linear job that the women can easily do, you see them all around. But for the man, once there is any economic downturn, the man finds it difficult to start from the scratch, because it's like that ego is there. I was once a rich man, so how is it possible for me to start from the scratch? But for the women, that zeal is there. The ability have been given to us to start from anywhere. Legitimate jobs. Legitimate ones. You can pick up from there. And that is the hazard of not even knowing to do anything in the first time. Because begging, to me, begging is not easy. It is not easy for me to go to somebody's doorstep while the person is running around hustling. Then I'll be waiting for him or her to come back to go and do one professional begging. When you are healthy, it is wrong. So she should not wait for the man to, before the man find his bearing, she should look for something to do to take care of the family.
Okay, I was going to ask Doctor a question, but let me take this question from the viewers. Someone asked us, what does it mean to be a liability? Doctor, I'll throw it to you. What does it mean to be a liability? I don't know if this question is, who is the liability here? Is it a woman or is it the man that's the liability? But Doctor, please, what does it mean to be a liability?
I want to assume that that question is with respect to marriage, husband and wife, right?
Yes.
With respect to husband and wife, see, we must free ourselves of this mentality that what I'm bringing to the table is mine. You must work on that mentality if you want it. If you want to manage money effectively at home. Nobody really should be a liability. Nobody, except one that makes himself. The only liability is a lazy man or a lazy woman. But the truth is, whoever is bringing what to the table and one is unable, for a reason not his fault or her fault, must understand that what you're bringing to the table is not your own. I talked about biblical stewardship. It belongs to God. And there's another principle I like us to bring in at this point to answer this question. A husband and a wife must come to this agreement that we are in this together. If it fails, I fail. You fail. If it blows, like they say today, blow.
Yeah, so behind every successful...
Yes. If the man blow, now the woman blow too.
Yeah.
So if we have this mentality, then we must be on the same page. Now, watch this carefully. If one of the parties has the mentality of biblical stewardship, and the other spends haphazardly, it's a problem. Okay. The other person must come to the table. They must be on the same page. Otherwise, liability is introduced.
Definitely.
The mentality should be that of biblical stewardship. This belongs to God, and if it belongs to God, it must be managed with wisdom, with care, with total submission to what he determines and what he directs.
Okay, sir. I will have two questions. But before I ask the second one, I want to know, who should be in care of the family purse? Between the man and the husband and the wife, who actually should be in care of the family purse?
There's no one answer suits all to this. Everyone must come to the table with the talents God gave and should be sober and humble enough to say, look, this is my strength. Listen, when God took the rib out of man, everything that the man was or is not is in that woman.
Okay.
The weakness of the man is what is in the woman.
Wow.
The strength
I wish our men can hear this. The weakness of the man is what is in the woman. So
God took that weakness out and brought the same back to him.
Wow.
And that's why the two complement.
Okay.
Do you understand?
So where he's weak, the woman is strong.
Yes. Where the woman is weak, the man has strength. And where the man is weak, the woman has... That virtue was taken out of the man and given to the woman.
Wow.
So it's complementation.
I think I agree with you here. That explains why you don't ever find outrightly a family as in running down completely on finances. Lately, I have noticed that when the man seems to be a bit weak, I've noticed there's a rise on the side of the woman.
Compliments.
That's okay, that's really compliments.
And so the one who is stronger on financial issues
becomes the boss.
Becomes the boss. It doesn't matter whether it's the man or the woman. So there's no one answer suits all.
Okay.
You both come to the table with your strengths and your weaknesses.
Okay. Now, to this question I've been holding, Why is it, this is an observation anyway, based on a trend happening these days now. You discover that when a man has a little shake, it takes him a while to make a rise. I know she made mention of ego of the man, but I want to hear it from the man's side. Why is it difficult? Not outrightly difficult, a lot rise, but many find it difficult to make that leap again up the waters once they are drowned. Why?
Well, it's a hard question, but I want to say that if a man finds the kind of support that he needs in his down moments, it makes rising much, much easier.
So him staying down, you're trying to say, is also part of the compliment?
I don't know the specifics of any family, but I know that if a man finds the kind of support when he has gone down, financially or business-wise, if he finds the kind of support that he should have at those moments, because when you make your vows, you say for richer or for what? Poorer. Meaning that those things may happen. All right?
Yeah.
Mountain and valley experiences.
Yeah.
If you find ditto for the woman, a woman can have issues in her own work. It doesn't have to be financial. She gets the kind of support she requires at home. Rising is a lot easier.
Okay.
So that's why God gives us compliments to help us. But the centrality of this is God. God is central to our rising.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that there's a place for each one of us a role to play. If we play that role, rising is a lot easier.
Thank you, sir. Sister Blessing, I will take you on this. Now, back to the women. The man is down. He's trying to rise. How can a woman give this support so that he can find this rising and make it easier? Like a person, once the support is there, the rising is easier. So what support can a woman give to a man who is simply trying to pop his head off the waters as he's drowning?
First of all, the support that such a woman can give to the husband is by opening her mouth with wisdom. This is not the time to talk anyhow. This is not the time for quarrels. She must learn, because I have observed one thing, and Mama was said it here, that in the vessels of good, that after so many years of marriage, one of the things that keeps that marriage is respect. Because all the love has been shown. So what else? So respect. This is not the time to disrespect that man. This is the time that the man needs her prayer and support more. If she is financially buoyant, that she can help the man to start whatever the kind of business that he wants to do, or help him to get a job. No matter, like I said, men have ego. If doctor will agree with me on that. But talk to the man. Look for the people that can talk to him. All of us knows the people that you can come to the picture when they talk to you. You understand and agree with them. So she should talk respectfully, counsel him, and help him to find his feet again.
All right. So you both are speaking from both angles. Like there's a balance now. You see, the show is Balanced Breed. Viewers, thank you for joining us once again. The show is Balanced Breed, and from what you can see here, we've come to a balance. Doctor said if the man can find the support he needs from the wife, it's easy for him to make a rise. And Sister Blessing has also agreed to that. And she has said to the woman, don't nag. If you are able, pull the money, drop it on the table, help him find the first start. Now, there's a question from our viewers. And this person wants to know. I think it should be a woman. She wants to know, why is it that some men feel threatened when their wives are more financially buoyant than them? Doctor, I think you can do justice to this.
It's because they are not balanced breed. Yes, because I said, and the more these questions come, we learn by repeating.
Yeah.
I'm going to repeat this till it sinks in. Between my wife and I, let me bring you home. Nobody owns anything. Nobody owns anything. And it makes it easy for us. There were times that my wife earned more than I did. But
And you never felt threatened.
why should I? We're a balanced breed.
Okay.
No,
We're
there's
a
need-
balanced breed.
Yes.
You didn't feel threatened.
You need to
because
understand
the
this.
balance. Yeah, okay.
When the woman takes her place and the man takes his place and God is at the center, God who is at the center is the owner of these resources. No matter how much each one brings. There's no other way. If you don't go this way, you are going to have issues at home.
Wow.
If you don't go the God way, that this money, you're going to have issues. My counsel to such people is this. Please surrender, first of all, your life to God.
Okay, doctor, before you go there, I have an observation. And I think this is quite common with the Christian homes, that is, home of believers. I've come to see that there's peace. They have this peace in terms of finances and all. I think the balance, like you put it, is there. I don't see that uproar or tussle between the husband and wife. I only find this complaint common with homes of unbelievers, most likely. But I'll let you go on.
Let me say that if you discover, there was a lady, a friend of mine, when I used to do Facebook a lot, many years ago, 8 years ago, she put on Facebook that marriage was like a house where those inside were trying to run away from. And those outside were rushing to get in. Yes. And then I said, no, that marriage is a triangle. Put God at the apex and the two of you at the base. The more each one draws closer to God, you're inevitably narrowing the differences between the husband and the wife. That includes, yes, as you approach the vertex, the distance narrows.
Yes.
That's how it is. As each one grows in the knowledge of God, you have fewer and fewer areas of conflict. You begin to manage, you're approaching balance.
Yeah.
And so there's no other solution we have except making God central and surrendering first your life and then your resources to Him. In that way, nobody owns anything. Nobody needs to be threatened about anything.
Wow. We're gradually drawing to the end of this show. It's getting more interesting as we go. It's getting more interesting. Viewers, thank you for staying with us. It's really getting more interesting. You know, I actually never pictured this triangle. And doctor, if you agree with me, maybe that will explain why some couples, after some years, they begin to look
alike.
One another.
Yes.
They begin to look alike.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, okay. As they approach the apex of the triangle, they start getting.
When there is peace at home, when there's agreement at home, it's spiritual. It reflects on the appearances. And then people begin to see the oneness. You know, the two shall become one, even becomes physical in appearance.
Okay, there's a question I'm trying to pick from the audience. And this person says, I think someone was writing here. She said, I submit my income to my husband, but
I beg for my needs.
But I beg for my needs to be met. Is this supposed to be so? Wow. Okay, doctor, you're laughing already. She submits her, that means maybe her money, if she's a salary earner, she submits her salary to her husband. Or if she does business, that means all her interest goes to her husband. But she practically has to beg for her needs. Why should it be so?
There's no need to beg. But I want to, you don't have the details of this case. Number one, what are needs and wants?
Most likely, I want to put myself in the place of this woman. Most likely, she's looking at her. We like plenty things. Good things. Clothes, shoes.
Human wants are insatiable. Unless we have the details of that picture, we can't read. But let me say this. What we do in my home is this. Each of us, we allocate a particular sum for personal needs.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That need, that sum may not meet all what you call needs, but it is relative to what our priorities are. Okay. That sum is not fixed. It can change based on priority.
Okay.
We have something we allocate for every other thing.
Okay.
God first.
Okay.
But when it comes to personal wants,
okay.
you keep removing and deleting and adding. That's why I say we don't have the details of that list.
Yeah.
I don't know what she wants, but really the word beg shouldn't come between two joint owners.
So what will you advise?
There has
this
to
couple?
be an agreement. You know, the man has to earn the woman's confidence. If you earn your wife's confidence, she would know when to forgo certain things that are important to her.
In essence, communication is key here.
Communication and also demonstrating by example. Because inevitably the man leads the show, right? But he needs to do a lot of work in showing responsibility. That means deploying the wisdom God gave as a leader to earn your wife's confidence so that she can forgo certain things for the good of all. But if you're taking care of yourself, and then the woman, it's not a good example. So, but the man has a lot to do to earn the confidence of the woman to be able to deploy, to forgo certain things sometimes for the good of all.
Okay, my sister, if you're listening, if you're watching, if you're still watching, you've heard it. I think what you should do is try to create a communication between you and your husband and make him see the reasons why everyone has to be happy, since both of you are bringing to the table. In rounding up, for us, we're almost, I think we have just few minutes go. In order to close this meeting, Sister Blessing, please, I need you to advise our fellow women. What advice will you give to them in terms of money matters in the home to avoid quarrels, fights, violence, so that happiness, so that they'll be able to approach that apex together? What advice will you give?
Okay, my advice to my fellow women is that, one, first of all, they should be hardworking. They should not be over-dependent on the man. Secondly, they should know when to ask. Know when to ask. Because some of us, once we see our husband with large sum of money, that is when you want to buy Brazilian hair, you want to do this. They should know when to ask for such kind of money. And do it respectfully.
Okay.
They should be prudent in their spendings. And learn to save.
Thank you, Sister Blessing. Learn to save your head. Doctor, just in 30 seconds, give one word of advice to the viewers.
Okay, I'd like to ask my men folks to be careful not to be the 21st century illiterate. That means the man who refuses to learn, unlearn, and relearn. If things are changing, anticipate change, plan for that, adjust yourself towards that change so that you don't become irrelevant and fail to provide.
Thank you, sir. Viewers, you've heard it all. Thank you for staying with us this far. We've come to the end of this show. See you same time next week. This is Balanced Bread. Next week's Monday, same time, 6 p.m. is our physical meeting. We'll be here. All the women will be here. If you are living in Mina or its environs and you're in town, please join us at Goldia Multipurpose Hall by 5:30 p.m. 5:15, p.m. And also we'll be broadcasting live, same time, 5:15 to 6:30. God bless you as you join us. Good night. Bye-bye.